3.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic. And what are we talking about today, Nick?
Misleading titles. So basically, you read a title, you think, oh, this is going to be this, just from the title, because you understand English, and you go see the movie, it's completely different. It has nothing to do with what the title is.
Yeah, and also there are certain connotation and expectations that comes with certain words, and, you know, it's not just literally misleading, but
even
also...
the connotations are misleading. You're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I could see it being that as well. I was like, no, that's not that at all. A special mention that everybody says, oh, it's a misleading title, and it's like, it's the big joke, ha ha ha, it's so misleading. And it's not. The Never-Ending Story, and people keep saying, well, it has an end, so, you know, ha ha, it's so misleading. The Never-Ending Story actually refers to the story the kid is reading in the movie, which that one is actually never ending because he's writing it as it's going on at the end there. You can totally see it when he enters like the dream world and he has riding the big dog. That's what's never ending. It's not the movie that's never ending. It's the story in the movie that's never ending. So...
No, I agree. And also, I mean, like, a little bit of poetry, people. Like, honestly, it's... The idea here is that the dream becomes so palpable and that you can carry it well after your reading session is over. You carry that imagination with you. That's the power of the book. Yeah. That's the power of imagination reading. That's what the Never-Ending Story refers to.
Yes. and basically... Who was expecting to go to the theaters and stay there forever, honestly?
No, it's like, I was really misled. I came in there and thought I would die there. Yeah. And I didn't, and I'm very disappointed.
I figured $8 for the rest of my life, would be great. But,
There's some runner-ups that I ultimately decided not to take in.
Yeah.
One of them is Hellraiser Hellworld, for example. Because there's no hell world in it, really. Because the story is a bunch of kids who go to a party that's sort of like for LARPers, but LARPers with a specific mythology that's very horror based. And, well, this is like the 8th movie in the Hellraiser franchise. At this point, you expect Pinhead to show up. You expect the little cube which gets you to hell. None of that there. It's a bunch of LARPers who go to a club and get killed like slasher style. You're like, what the hell?
Wow.
And they even mentioned like the Hellraiser mythology as being fictional. And it's like,
well,
what?
That's ridiculous. Especially in that late entry in the movie. If it had been the second one, okay, it's an odd swerve immediately.
Yeah.
But if you have that consistently, the Pinhead and the object you're talking about in every movie, you need to keep going, honestly.
I think so, because at that point, like, especially it's number 8, okay? It's direct-to-video. The only people who are going to rent this thing are big fans of Pinhead and all of that mythology. You can't just make a movie going like, yeah, all that stuff, we're not going to talk about it. Then why'd you call it that?
It's marketing.
I didn't count it because, well, technically it does actually mention the Hellraiser world at least, but, I think it comes pretty damn close is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, alright, like, we've wasted enough time. Let's get into our proper top 3 as such. What is your top 3 pick for misleading title?
My number 3, a movie I hate, but I hate the title as well, Sucker Punch. When you hear of Sucker Punch, you're thinking maybe something that's fighting dirty or, something bad's happening. I was not expecting a girl who's in an asylum, who's imagining he's in the brothel, who's imagining she's playing video games. That really did not go well with the movie. I guess the Sucker Punch was on the viewers or something. Maybe that's why it was like that. But I was like, that made no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know if its life keeps sucker punching her, because it certainly does that. I guess maybe that's the idea. But it's hard to tell what director Zack Snyder was thinking with that title, because honestly, it's hard to tell what the hell he was thinking throughout the entire movie. Like this movie, like he advertised it as like this big feminist statement, and it comes across as like one of the most sexist, misogynistic like movies we've seen in a very
Yeah.
long time. And I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and think that he was aiming towards exposing misogyny and never got around to criticize it in a way that's coherent, because honestly, 3/4 of this movie is completely incoherent.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of his personal politics, but in terms of his movie, like, I'm not surprised that Sucker Punch doesn't make any sense, because nothing in this movie seems to communicate what he intended to.
I don't understand the feminist thing. If he's trying to do that, why is the girl imagining she's in a brothel? Probably the least feminist thing you can think of, you know. It's really, really odd to me.
Well, but I think that the error is for us to try to look at it from the angle of us necessarily identifying with her or approving of what it is she does or whatever. If you look at it as the fantasy within the fantasy, like where she's like this like anime girl kicking butt and taking names and all of that,
Yeah.
it's all like hyper sexualized images of women. Like the image of a woman only a teenage boy who hasn't talked to a lot of girls would have.
Yeah. And the image of a girl a teenage boy would have if he just read anime and did not look at the world around him.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is, you know?
And I think maybe he was aiming to take that and criticize that, but like it was super incoherent. Like, I think it's equal to say, oh, well, he's exploiting women, as to say, oh, well, he's exploiting women. Because either way, none of it comes across in a way that makes sense, you know? So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but as an entry for misleading title, yeah.
Sucker Punch. Okay. Just weird.
Oh, and by the way, I'm giving Zack Snyder the benefit of the doubt. I am not giving Sucker Punch the benefit of the doubt. That thing's an unholy mess.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. Do not watch it. So what is your number 3?
It is a Paranoia by Robert Lucatier. Okay, you hear the word paranoia. What are you thinking of?
Somebody that's afraid of it, that's really jumpy. Stuff's going to happen to them, and they're never at ease. That's what I think of.
Yeah, you're thinking like big thriller, maybe like conspiracy thriller or something.
Yeah, as
like
well.
That.
Yeah.
I expected that from the movie. I sat there and it's like, no, it's a story of this like guy who's poor, who gets recruited to become a corporate spy and tries to con one company out of their secrets, but ends up being conned by the other company, and both companies con each other. I was like, why is this movie called Paranoia?
Because it sounds cool. I guess that's pretty much the only reason they found the word. They just scrambled the dictionary, they stopped at a random page, and it's like, Paranoia, that sounds pretty cool. Have there been other big movies named Paranoia? No, let's use Paranoia. This sounds good.
I agree with you. Like, to a certain degree, I feel like the title was picked to attract people, not to represent what the movie is.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably a case of where the producers looked at the movie as like, we're not selling this. This is an unholy mess. And because the movie's really bad, people. The movie's really, really bad. And, I'd sooner rewatch Sucker Punch.
Oh god, that's bad.
No, seriously, I hated that movie. You can find our written review at idiomatic.com, where really it's an 800-word bitch fest. So if you don't like negative reviews, fair warning. If you love negative reviews, idiomatic.com/paranoia dash 2013. And it feels like the producers went like, I don't know, nobody's gonna see this movie. I don't like, and then they just changed the title to whatever was going to systematically attract people.
How is nobody going to see? Isn't it Harrison Ford in this movie?
Yeah.
Don't they? Well, how can you think nobody's going to see this movie? I mean, he usually has a following.
Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman.
Yeah. So.
And Amber Heard. Amber Heard also has her fans because, she's drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah. So call the movie Harrison Ford is in this movie. It's about as it's better than Paranoia, I guess. It's more accurate.
No, really, like, it's so weird because the movie stops dead in its track and has like this one scene where the character behaves completely out of character and goes like, I don't know who to trust. They're everywhere. And I was like, no, the movie hasn't shown that they're everywhere at all. Like, you're the spy. You're the one who can't be trusted. Everyone else, it's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're everywhere. It's like, that's such a weird scene. And the movie goes back to its normal narrative, like, and it really feels like they went like, oh yeah, by the way, we're calling the movie Paranoia. And Ludikick was going like, Paranoia? That's not what my movie's about. I'll make it about that.
Okay.
It's like, I'm good. Okay, you, Hemsworth, act like you're paranoid.
Nice. And, you think they had to recall the actor to film that scene specifically after they were all done? Because, oh, by the way, the movie's called Paranoia, so we need to film the extra scene while you're paranoid. Okay.
He is kind of alone and speaking on the phone to another character who doesn't need to be there, so yeah, I actually think that is what happened.
That's good. That's spectacular. Oh, God.
Alright, what is your number 2 pick for misleading title?
Ghostbusters. But not the Ghostbusters, the movie. That's what they're doing. They're busting ghosts. But there was like a 1986 cartoon called Ghostbusters. Not the real Ghostbusters, that was a cartoon based off of the movie. But it was just Ghostbusters, and it was 2 guys and a monkey fighting like an evil warlock.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this on the in TV Guide, and I was like, Ghostbusters, this is going to be great. And you see the initial credit, which basically mostly focused on the monkey going ooh, ooh, ooh the whole time. And I'm like, what is this? This is not Ghostbusters. This is so stupid.
Can I answer that question, or is that a rhetorical question?
What?
Well, what this is a cartoon version of a 60s, 70s British show called The Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters, 2 words.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I guess because Ghostbusters came out recently, they shoved it together in one, called it Ghostbusters. And, oh look, people are going to watch this thinking it's the real Ghostbusters. And I guess the monkey will, keep them watching, because everything is better with a monkey, And it was like, oh, this is completely stupid. And I felt ripped off. And it's not, I think it's a coincidence that, that series and the real Ghostbusters debuted on the same week. It's kind of odd.
Oh, no, I think you bring up a good point. Like, it seems likely that somebody wanted to capitalize on the Ghostbuster movie, and, of course, obviously didn't have the right, because Deke were producing a cartoon series with that.
Yeah.
And went like, but hold on, like, I want to use the word Ghostbusters and, like, one-up them. And there's this British property that everybody's forgotten that came up with the word before the movie.
Yeah.
So if I buy that license, I get to use the word.
I stopped my research kind of early. Was there a monkey in the 70s show?
Yeah.
God. Yeah, everything is better with monkeys. This is proving to be true. But, I mean, I guess that's the asylum in the 80s is what it is. And it's the actual same title. I mean, is that the other reason why the other one called themselves The Real Ghostbusters?
Yes, actually that is the reason why they had to change the title to The Real Ghostbusters, because the other cartoon company one-upped them on getting the word Ghostbusters.
That's hilarious. Like, well, you're Ghostbusters, we're the real Ghostbusters. And honestly, that the real Ghostbusters was much better when you're basing all your humor on a monkey.
It raises the question, though, like, is that a wise marketing strategy for a TV series? Because I can understand Asylum doing it with Transmorphers and stuff like that, because once you rented the thing or put it in your Netflix queue, you paid for it.
Yeah.
It's done. But with Ghostbusters, it's sort of like you have to maintain ratings over several episodes. The minute I've seen the show, I know it's not the Ghostbusters I want. Like, how do you retain viewers? I'm guessing maybe their thing was to buy the rights for Ghostbusters, come up with their cartoon, and force Deke to go like, oh, wait, you have Ghostbusters? We want Ghostbusters. We have the rights for the movies. Yeah, but we have the rights for the name, so what you gonna do, bitches? Pay me money. And then the Deke, the cartoon company that did the real Ghostbusters, were like, or I could write the real next to it and let you suck it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like one up, because, it basically, the title even says, this is the Ghostbusters you're looking for. Yeah. That other show sucks. It's pretty much what it says. So what is your number 2?
I'm going to bag on Robert Lukatic because he came out with a movie called Killers.
Okay, so it's about like Chai Young Fat being cool with guns, shooting people, is what that movie's about.
That's funny because when I saw it like at the head of the theater, like the word killers, I was like, oh, there's a new horror movie coming out?
Oh,
That's
okay.
interesting. No, it's a romantic comedy starring Ashton Kutcher and Katherine Heigl.
Wow, that makes sense.
Like, what the heck?
Love is a battlefield, I guess.
Now, I know fans of the movie will quickly point out that it's like, well, she does discover that he is a contract killer.
Yeah.
And there are killers after her, so at least there are killers in the movie.
Okay.
And that's why I made that specification at the beginning of the episode. Is like, it's not just literally meaning what it does. It's like, there's also the question of connotation. The word killers does not scream rom-com. And you're going to attract the wrong people to the theater.
Yeah, especially when you go to a movie theater and you want to buy a ticket, you don't have the posters. The posters are on the side next to it. When you're about to buy the ticket, all you have are the titles and the show times. So you see the killers. If you're looking for a romantic comedy and you see killers, you're going to pass and, go for a romantic comedy-ish title. Unless, you spent your time, 10 minutes just looking at all the posters, like, oh, this is interesting. You're not going to know.
Yeah.
That's even if they have the posters, smaller theaters often don't,
Yeah. And say what you will, okay, obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you're a little bit more savvy about this sort of thing. But the truth is, the average moviegoer, they see a TV spot and goes like, oh, Katherine Heigl and Ashton Kutcher are in a new movie. I want to see that. And they instantly forget the title.
Wow. Yeah.
They really do. I have friends who are not into this stuff at all, and they think I'm insane for having this website and everything. And yet they cannot remember a movie title to save their lives, even if they saw the TV spot exactly 30 seconds
It's
ago.
that movie with the big shark that eats people. What is that?
Exactly. It's like, instead of killers, it'll be like, that movie with that girl from that doctor show. And with the pothead from that show in the 60s? I don't know, the one with the kids in a circle.
And that's you're lucky when you're speaking to the teller selling you a ticket. If you're buying it, with your credit card in one of those machines, the machine is not going to know who that pothead from that 60s show is, You're just going to be going through all the tiles like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. It's like, oh, it's not playing here, honey.
No, it's crazy. Because killers, it's not a name you're going to remember for a rom-com. And it would be so easy to fix it. Because killer looks. Suddenly that says, oh, wait a minute. It has the word killer in it that you want, but it's closer to what I might expect as a title for a rom-com. And it has a pun in it, so it's easier to remember. Because it's easier to remember jokes than it is to remember just random words.
Okay.
Something of that kind, or oh my god, my boyfriend is a killer, if you really want to be on the nose about it. But at least people will remember that stuff.
I can't believe I'm dating a killer murderer or something.
Yeah, exactly. 10 ways to lose your killer boyfriend. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Something silly like that. Just killers? What?
Katherine Heigl rom-com is the absolute last thing you want to see as a slasher fan.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much the last thing you want to see as any kind of fan. I'm just kidding. She's great.
I find she's fine. I don't think rom-com is the way she should have gone with her career, but yeah, we can digress about that on another episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. Rom-com is a perfectly fine movie if you're into that. But yeah, if you're into slasher, no.
No, exactly. No, it's the last thing you... I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking about that.
And movie theaters do give refunds, little known facts. So yeah, if you spot the movie and you saw 5 minutes of this is not what I was expecting, you could totally go and get your money back. And
yeah, it's within 20 minutes for the Cineplex chain here in Canada. I don't know for what it is in the United States and whatnot, but yeah, if within 20 minutes, you can actually get your refund in most theaters. So
yeah, they probably had to get a lot of that because it's like, no, this is stupid. Let's go see another movie. And yeah, you walk out, get your money back, and a complete waste.
I agree. All right. I guess we're up to number one.
Yes.
What is your number one pick for Misleading title? The misleadingest of titles.
Highlander 2, The Quickening. First of all, there shouldn't have been a Highlander 2 because he won the prize in the first one. But, we can separate the title into two parts. Highlander 2 and then The Quickening. For those who are not a fan of the franchise, or you can just know a little bit about it, Highlander is about immortals. Immortals who are having this contest. They chop their heads off, and the last person who's alive wins the prize. And you can only kill an immortal by chopping their head off. And when you chop an immortal's head off, what happens is the quickening. You get like a big surge of energy.
Well, yeah, the implication being that you sort of absorb their power.
Yeah, pretty much. And why it's called the quickening in this one is just so weird, because there's one quickening at the end when he beats the final bad guy, but I don't think that's the reason. There's another quickening at one point where he goes from an old guy to a young guy, which has never been seen before ever. There's another quickening where he brings back Ramirez, but Ramirez has been his head chopped off in the first movie. He comes back to life for some reason after he kills another immortal.
See, I would argue that doesn't even count as a quickening. That's a completely different weird thing that also involves random thunder.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't get the quickening part. I guess they just needed, we need something that was in the first movie that was sounds kind of cool. So that's the quickening. But there's no quickening really. It's just weird.
Well, there are two, like you said, there are two quickenings, and neither of them are central to the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. That's well said. And then you go to the premise of the Highlander, which is basically somebody that lives in Scotland, in the Highlands of Scotland. And you learn in this movie that they're aliens from the planet Zeist. So they're not from, the main character is not from the Highlands, he's from the planet Zeist. So he's not a Highlander. So the whole title makes no sense whatsoever. It's complete nonsense.
And it doesn't really follow the mythology established in the first one.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it turns them into aliens, but also, like, at the end of the first movie, he gets surprised. It is implied that he becomes God. That's the prize. But you could also argue that the prize is just him getting super telepathy.
Yeah, that's what he gets. He with his super telepathy, he'll get everybody to, live together in harmony.
Yeah. And in the second movie, it turns out that he just gets old and gains nothing from it, which is really weird. So it doesn't even follow the first one. So there are 4 words in Highlander to the quickening. The quickening, as you explained, not there. Highlander, as you explained, not there. And even part 2, not there.
Nice. So what is your number 1?
My number 1 pick. Now, so far, we've mostly listed movies that we don't like.
Yeah.
Or TV shows.
Indeed.
And actually, I will say that my pick for this one is actually one of my all-time favorite movies.
Cool.
It is the movie that made me become a writer.
Dead Poet Society?
No. Although Dead Poet Society, no dead poets. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought it was going to be a zombie flick.
No, it's the movie Beautiful Girls. Written by Scott Rosenberg. And here's the thing. This movie is not about beautiful girls at all. It's about how men perceive women and sort of how they project their ideals and ambitions in life on the idea of a beautiful woman. Therefore, sort of isolating themselves from the true image of woman, so being a little bit sexist in the process, but more to the point, sort of limiting their own growth. So, it's not a big feminist statement, although it touches on some of these issues, but it's really on the idea of, holding on to the playboy ideal of a woman is childish, and you need to get over that at some point in your life.
Okay. But, the concept of the beautiful girl still kind of enters in the movie.
Absolutely. Somehow. Absolutely. Okay. I think, actually, as a title, it has a lot of poetry, because it orients your thoughts towards, the beautiful girls. Okay, what's that about? And then you see all these men talking about the ideal of woman, and it's like, that is kind of creepy.
Yeah,
the idea of beautiful girls.
I was expecting a skin flick or something.
And that's exactly it. That's the thing. Is if you look at Beautiful Girls as a title, you're gonna expect some inspiring story of sisterhood and stuff like that with a title like that.
Yeah, you're right.
In fact, the poster is I cannot imagine how troublesome that title must have been for the people doing the poster. Because the poster that they used for the DVD covers today, and was actually the original poster, had actually the male cast, because it's an entirely male cast. that play the principal characters in there. So you have like all these guys, manly men, hanging out at this dive of a bar, and it's like under it beautiful girls, and it looks ridiculous.
Wow.
It looks ridiculous. So subsequent posters, or during the theatrical run, had like half of it were that picture of the guys, and half of it had the picture of the women that are in their lives, so that you can justify the title Beautiful Girls without it looking really stupid on the poster.
I guess, yeah.
Except it also reorients the way you look at what the movie might be, because like, oh, it's going to be about gender dynamics and like what women think of men, and men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Like, it gives that illusion with that poster. Like, that is not what the movie is about at all. Like, the women's perspective, barely there in the movie, because that's not what the movie's about. Like, this movie would fail at the Bechdel test, okay?
Yeah. What year is that from?
Oh, that's from the 90s.
Okay.
Around this, maybe 93, 94.
Oh, interesting.
It's actually really, really good. It
Okay.
has a young 13-year-old Natalie Portman in it, playing...
A Pixie?
No, no.
Wow.
No. She plays this little girl who sort of seduces this grown man, like not sexually, but just by being herself and being this a little bit precocious 13-year-old girl. And she seduces Timothy Hutton that way. Like, they never do anything. It's not
Okay.
that kind of movie.
Okay.
But he becomes a little bit infatuated with her. He's like, yeah, that little girl, she's really cool. I wish I would meet like a grown woman like her. And all his friends are going like, no, you're just projecting the fact that you're growing older and you miss your youth. Like, stop being a creepy old man about this little girl. It's like, I'm not being creepy. It's like, yes, you are. It's interesting.
Nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check that out then.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie. On that note, I guess.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, comments, you can write us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Please join us, like us on Facebook, and post comments, because we want to know if there are other misleading titles. Like, if you guys have any other examples of misleading titles, we want to hear them.
Ooh, I have one.
Oh.
Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. No dynamite whatsoever. Very disappointing. I watched the whole thing.
Ew. And not ooh about the exploding kids, like ooh about the fact that you watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
Hey!
Oh.